Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org, communitypolicingcaps24.org. Jewish Chicago will be coming out again before the election. We're expanding our circulation to record levels. We expect to reach 70 to 75,000 readers minimum, and that's not even to mention the web presence. So if you want to get a thorough review of all the elections, and especially the judicial elections, make sure you get your free copy of Jewish Chicago before the election, but the election is still a long ways off. It is a pleasure to introduce you to a number of different judicial candidates. We hope to have at least 50 or 60 judicial interviews on this show before the election. I'd like to introduce you to a candidate for the 10th Sub-Circuit of Cook County. I'd like to thank Jeff Stein for bringing him to our attention, and that is Michael Maltesta. How are you?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Real good. First of all, a pleasure. Thank you. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, I grew up on the northwest side of the city, in the Edison Park, Norwood Park neighborhood, which is right in the center of our 10th Judicial Sub-Circuit. Went to high school at Fenwick High School, University of Iowa. I have a degree in English, a BA in English from the University of Iowa, and then I went to DePaul College of Law.
English to law school, interesting.
I took a year in between to teach school.
Wow.
And then I went to law school in the evening, worked full-time, clerked for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office during that time, and got my degree at night.
Does writing play a place in what you do as a lawyer?
Oh, for sure. Especially in terms of my practice, the civil practice, there's a great deal of writing. And that English background certainly comes in handy, and the love of writing itself certainly comes in handy in my work.
Yeah, I once had I actually once had a lawyer tell me that I should become a lawyer, and actually I was accepted to law school. When I was a reporter, I covered 26th and Cal, and I got to see what reality was, and I decided it wasn't for me. But he told me that the two most important things in being a good lawyer are the ability to BS well, both orally and in writing.
Very true. And I'm not going to say I'm a good BSer, but I'm a good writer, and I'm pretty good in a courtroom as well. So.
No, yeah, you've got to deliver your message, and if people don't know how to write, you can't deliver the message properly so people will understand it.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
So no, it's interesting. I never heard of anybody go from English to that, but it makes a lot of sense to me right now. That's for sure.
It's certainly come in handy. I think it gives you a different approach. It's the creative process in legal writing is almost thrown out the window, but you can implement some of the things that I learned through that background, and it certainly helps. Or at the very least, it makes it more interesting.
Are there any kind of cases you specialize in? Or?
Well, my practice is all civil, so I do civil trial work, which would be personal injury cases, various torts of numerous kinds, breach of contract, issues like that. So my practice consists of no criminal work, but it's trial work just on the civil end of things.
Do you have your own practice, or do you work for a firm? Or?
Well, I started out working for a firm for a number of years, and then about 6 years ago I started my own practice. So now it's myself and an associate attorney.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, who work in our practice group, and I've been doing that for the last 6.5, 7 years.
Yeah, do you visit all the different courtrooms, around the county in your practice? Or?
For sure. So I've been to, and I've tried cases in counties outside of Cook and in the federal court, Will and Lake. But the practice that we have now certainly encompasses all of Cook County and all the branches, Markham, Skokie. A majority of the work we do is in Daly Center, and then Rolling Meadows and any of the other branches as well.
Yeah, those are the two places I actually served on juries. So it was, well, actually, that's not true with 26th and Cal also. But that was a little, well, whatever.
Jury's always interesting. Nobody wants to do it when asked, but at the end, I don't think I've ever heard a juror say it wasn't a great experience after going through it.
I was really glad I did it. Actually, the last time I was on jury duty was in the spring, and I actually was hoping to get a criminal case, and I wanted to serve, because interviewing judges, and I have served on a jury in the past, it's an education from a different standpoint that I didn't have. It's a whole different appreciation of the court system. But this thing was a civil medical malpractice 8-figure case that I had very strong feelings about. And
before it started?
Well, actually, just listening to what the lawyers were saying when they were interviewing the jurors. And I had actually, because I've interviewed so many judges, I've actually spoke and written on the subject. So I told the judge that, I've actually written and editorialized on this subject, and I told him I don't think I should say this in open court, but you should know what I wrote before people decide to appoint me. And he called me into his office, and he said, "This is your chance to tell me what you want to say." I just said, "The Trial Lawyers Association of Illinois," and he says, "Dismissed."
That'll do it.
Well, I still had to sit there till 4:30 with everybody else, but yeah.
I've done it. I was not selected, but I think as a trial lawyer, I got my summons and appeared for jury duty. Was not selected, but I would have loved to have been inside the room and heard how people come to the conclusions they come to, based on the other side of the cases that I'm normally trying. So it's an interesting process.
The one thing that struck me more than anything is how much people really listen to the judges. How much attention people really paid to the judge's instructions and what should be done, and were actually not letting their own feelings get involved. I guess I was with a good group.
My experience has been, and I had a judge many years ago when I first started trying cases tell me that, these jurors, some of them are going to like you, some of them won't. Some are going to like your opponent, some won't, but everybody likes me. So
you are a likable guy, I'll say that. That's for sure. I can see why you want to run.
I want to run for a host of reasons, but everyone likes the judge, so I think I'd be a likable one if elected.
No, it does count. I have to say that I don't want to say his name, and he recently retired too. But no, the judges that I've encountered in these situations have always been likable people. It's one of the nice things about people running for judge in general. It's such a higher quality of individual than your run-of-the-mill politician. When I interview people running for regular office, I've got to have a whole box of Q-tips here to clean my ears out. And when I talk to somebody running for judge, you're talking to somebody intelligent, you're talking to somebody articulate, and you're talking to somebody who's actually looking to do good.
I think so. I think the majority of the people in our practice, and certainly the judiciary, are dedicated to the idea of fairness and this lack of having a certain viewpoint. And I know that sounds odd, but in that arena you have to be open to everything. So if you're dedicated to that sense of fairness and you make it part of your mindset, I think that's why you get the quality of people that you see in the judiciary.
I think it is important, and I'll tell you from being basically a reporter and an editor for most of my life, there is such a lack of fairness within journalism, it's not even funny, and I always pride myself on trying to really listen to both sides, and even if I know I'm going to disagree with something violently, I'll make sure I read everything on both sides of the equation, before I'll come to a conclusion. And, I hate to say it, but my fellow journalists are really lacking terribly in that thing. And when I enter when I get a chance to see the judicial system and process, I really give them a lot of credit, the people I've seen, for what they're doing along those lines.
Well, great professionals are great professionals for a reason. And journalism, I always thought that the great journalists are the ones that can remove themselves and not let you know what their opinion is and give you both and let you decide. A judge is very similar. Can we be dedicated to the sense of fairness to allow to hear both sides and make decisions based on that, or allow the juries to have the tools to make those decisions as you go through the process? You want an open, fair process. Yeah,
at this point we're really out of time. Do you have a website that people can go to check out your candidacy?
We have a Facebook page, Maltesta for Judge on Facebook, and then Maltesta for Judge will be on the web shortly.
Sounds good. Good luck in the election, which is already in progress.
Thank you.